as set by my predecessor to invite supervisors from around the park to come and speak in a community spotlight and talk about their communities, talk about the needs of their communities, talk about really put their community in the spotlight, literally, but also to let us know how we as an agency have been helping and what more we might be able to do that would support the goals and long-term direction of their community. I believe today is the first day we have a mayor from within the Adirondack Park. If you all have not met Mayor Rabideau, you have heard him on the radio as he interviewed a number of folks down in Long Island about the Adirondacks, and no, we're not in the Catskills. You did a wonderful job, Mayor, and we welcome you today and thank you for being here. We would turn the microphone over to you, sir, and I think your presentation is all queued up.
Thank you, Lonnie, and good afternoon, everybody. I appreciate tremendously the invitation to talk with you all about my favorite place, Saranac Lake. I think it's the greatest small town in all of America, and I have a great team. I'd like to take a second out, if I may, to introduce a few of them. We have our village manager, John Sweeney. John, if you just raise your hand, stand up. Our community development director is right there, Jeremy Evans. Our village clerk, Corrine Tyler. And then we have a very valuable person, Kelly Brunette, who is in our community development office as well. And we also have another person you may have met in your travels, and that's our trustee, Paul Van Cott. He's right over there. All right. Oh, we get along really great. And, in fact, being around old friends, like Jerry Delaney over there, he's from Saranac Central, that's my alma mater. He and I were on the wrestling team, and believe it or not, he wrestled a later weight class than I did back then. It's true. It's true. He was skinny.
Now, those are pictures that we would value having, Clyde. Those are pictures.
I probably have a few, believe it or not. And we have a great wrestling coach who's deeply involved in the Adirondacks. In fact, he's like a 12-time 46er. His name's Phil Carell. And he'll still held in great esteem by Jerry, me, and many others from Saranac. In any event, let me introduce, again, Saranac Lake, the capital of the Adirondacks. It's capital of the Adirondacks, correct, Jerry? Yes, all right. I just want to make sure everybody got that. It's a very special place, and we want to make it even more of a sustainable hamlet. It's the capital of the Adirondacks. It's where good land use planning contemplated by the founders of the Adirondack Park Agency comes together with incredible natural resources and a vibrant community. We represent the best potential of Adirondack communities for human development in the hamlet areas, a goal of the Adirondack Park Plan. And unlike most other Adirondack hamlets, our population grew in the last census, and we are now leveraging our resources for future sustainable growth. Saranac Lake can be a template for the Adirondack sustainable future. And here's the thing. We consider our Adirondack Park location to be an asset and an advantage for generations to come. 6 million acres of pristine mountains and lakes, a great advantage, a great asset. When I was mayor of Plattsburgh, Lake Champlain was a great advantage and a great asset. So too the Adirondack Park. Hamlets are special places, as you all know, in our Adirondack Park. And I just highlighted two areas that I think we should take a look at. Development Corporation, LDC, to leverage our resources. And supporting our existing institutions, AMA, Trudeau Institute, St. Joseph's, North Country Community College, and the Adirondack Medical Center are top priorities. This is a picture of ribbon cuttings. Mayors love ribbon cuttings. This is good stuff for any mayor out there. Even town supervisors love to cut ribbons. And we've been cutting some other ribbons. Here's active motif. Looks like a ribbon got cut and put away, but we nonetheless cut a ribbon there. Those two biotechs are teaming up with the prestigious Trudeau Institute, which is going through a significant challenge right now to refocus their resources and maintain their sustainability in the years ahead. Also, we mentioned Bionique as a significant part of the biotech cluster that has garnered statewide recognition from the New York Conference of Mayors and an award from them for its biotech cluster. In fact, we were featured in the Ag when Governor Cuomo was giving his presentation at the first Economic Development Council Awards presentation in Albany last year. This is a shot of the AMA campus, 62 acres. It comes between village lands at Mount Pisgah and links with a significant residential community on Park Avenue. They have a lot of buildings, a lot of assets. If we can help AMA leverage, again, those assets and sell them for taxable entities, bring more jobs onto that campus, we think it's great, not just for the town of St. Armand, but for the village of Saranac Lake and the Adirondacks in general. Again, this is in a hamlet area. Maintaining the sustainability of the existing major employers in Saranac Lake in the vicinity is of great importance, and that's why we've reached out continually to AMC, we've reached out to St. Joseph's, Trudeau Institute, and other major employers to assure their presence here in the Adirondacks. Tourism is another tremendous focus and part of our economic development strategy in Saranac Lake. We're working with partners to implement Saranac Lake's Destination Master Plan, primarily right now with ROOS out of Lake Placid, the Regional Office of Sustainable Tourism. I got that acronym right. That good Army training came through there. And they have a lot of talent. They're 8 miles away, notwithstanding the fact that they're in a different county, a different town, and maybe in some eyes a competing community in Lake Placid. We think it's vitally important to link with their expertise and help each other grow. We're also implementing recommendations from the Saranac Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan, a great effort by a lot of volunteers and a consultant. And we're also leveraging our hiking trail assets with the Saranac Lake Sixer program that we'll talk about in just a minute or so. We're also strongly advocating for the timely completion of the Saranac Lake Wild Forest Unit Management Plan with the inclusion of the Bark Eater Trails Alliance recommendation. We think the mountain biking in appropriate areas is important to our tourism growth and important to the sustainability of the Adirondacks. And we're building right now multi-use trails for Mount Pisgah over to Dewey. That's our ultimate goal, linking it with other trails in the area, the railroad tracks, and making more integration possible. We're also reaching out to the 4 million Francophones who live 150 miles away. 4 million potential visitors to the Adirondacks and the state of New York, to Saranac Lake. Our Board of Trustees passed a resolution whereby we will convert all of our existing signage to bilingual signs in the years ahead as they're being replaced. And there's a little map showing just a 150-mile radius. It takes in Montreal. It also takes in Ottawa, which is more Anglophone than Francophone. Notwithstanding, we reach out to the Three Rivers area, and we think this is vitally important to the future sustainability of Saranac Lake. A little picture there, how friendly we are. On your left, that is Saranac Pale Ale. Sorry for all you Ubu lovers, but that does say Saranac on it. And we also have the Canadian Molson. Tom Cotillas, another trustee, likes that beer immensely. In English, that means good friends. We want to make Saranac Lake the place to be in all seasons, and even in the mud season, we want to make things happen. Nobody does summer like Saranac Lake, nobody does winter like Saranac Lake, and nobody's going to do mud season like Saranac Lake with sherry sales around and Daft Fest. Our downtown is special. Not many downtowns are like it left in the United States. They don't make them like this anymore. Family-owned businesses. And our Board of Trustees has worked really hard as a de facto Chamber of Commerce to organize events and businesses and make things happen. Right there in the background is a picture of movie night. We get 180 people showing up at movie night to watch. I think that was that The Wizard of Oz in that movie? That was an oldie but goodie. We've had a lot of great oldies but goodies there. Some people say the mayor's an oldie but goodie. Partnering with the arts community to leverage the arts as an important sector of the economy. We have a burgeoning arts community, a tremendous group of people that are holding events, bringing other artists into Saranac Lake, and we have that critical mass of the arts community that's growing as we speak. I had mentioned the individually owned businesses. We also were proud to announce, and again, we cut another ribbon. We like that. Community store featured in the New York Times and Canadian television, the Adirondack Carousel, and we've had a lot of new restaurants move in. So we're creating that critical mass of amenities for tourism development, and we like it. And we're also seeking funding assistance through the consolidated funding application to restore the historic mixed-use buildings that we have in our downtown. Right there are a group of very passionate people about our downtown. We sold these T-shirts, I think, at $15 a piece. We made $4 each on them, but we made like $600, and we used the $600 for movie night. So we're very grateful for the vitality of our volunteer spirit in Saranac Lake. Here's a quick picture in front of T.F. Finnegan's, a long-term family business in downtown, with an artiste there, and I think that was during our plein air festival late summer. Again, another shot of movie night. That definitely is the Wizard of Oz. I recognize that face. You know, we just had bridges, and we were roasting marshmallows. It was a lot. Who does a movie night last Friday? We had like 80 or 90 people show up in a snowstorm, 10 degrees above zero, to watch Sea Hunt with Lloyd Bridges. Saranac Lake does this, and it was just a lot of fun. And the other funny part was, at every movie, French word, right? We have to learn two French words. So we started off with bonsoir and grand spectacle, and then Friday night, the French word for snow is neige, and we're also wearing our toque. So we had a lot of fun. So we're up to like 5 or 6 words. Not too bad. 5 or 6 words more than we had before. You know, our downtown, what a great place. This is like 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning. This is the second time it happened. On Facebook, the word is put out. We've got to move Pink about 2 blocks away, all their goods to another storefront. What happens? 120 people show up, and we do a bucket brigade and move all the goods from point A to point B through 2 blocks in about an hour's time, and boy, did we have a lot of fun. And I think there's a video bantering about on YouTube somewhere. I don't know exactly where, but downtown is just a special place for kids, for all ages, and the sun does shine on our downtown just like that every day. Downtown is a source of pride. We're the focal point of we take pride in our downtown. We want Saranac Lake and want to maintain our downtown. Why do we want to maintain our downtown? Because it's special. That's where it's in the middle of the town. That's where people can congregate. They can get them. They can be entertained. They can eat. They can have fun. And you know, it's the urban center. It's a relative urban center. It's where things happen. Downtowns like this, as I said, are not made every day. This is an asset. Here's another asset. Here's another tourism vehicle that we've implemented. It started out again on the internet, and 2 of our original volunteers are APA employees. Mark Rooks and John Barge just volunteered, and then your executive director, Terry Martino, gave the blessing. It's okay. It's an official APA assistance in Saranac Lake to develop a trail map. And this is important to us because we've not considered ourselves until recently as a destination for hiking, for biking, for cross-country skiing, and this is a step in the right direction where we can leave this at motels and hotels and inns and places of businesses, and when somebody says, what is there to do in Saranac Lake, you hand them the trail map and you say, get going. Okay, I can climb, but what else can I do? You can read the signs that are in French and English. You can be part of the Saranac Lake Sixer program. This is a lot of fun. There are 6 great peaks around Saranac Lake: St. Regis Mountain, Mackenzie, Baker, Haystack, Scarface, and Ampersand. These are the Saranac Lake Sixers. And come May 23rd, the Sixer program will commence. And if you climb those 6 mountains, you will get an official patch and bumper sticker from the mayor. And you will get a number. So if you're the first one who does these 6 mountains, and I'll tell you the details behind that, at noontime on Saturday, May 23rd, you got to sign up in the Village Hall, and if like 11 people sign up or 15 people sign up, well, those the first 15 places or 11 places will be saved, and the first one back and rings the bell will be Saranac Lake Sixer number 1. And then all the rest will have to take their numbers after those 2 people. But we also have the Ultra Sixer program. That's when you finish all 6 in a day's time. Back when Jerry and I were wrestling, we may have been able to do that. Now we have to stop at various places for refreshment. Those could be all the 46 peaks. They got a lot of traffic. We should take some of the traffic on. Maybe we should permit foot traffic on the 46 peaks. What are we doing? We are taking some of that traffic on and we're diverting it to another part of the Adirondacks that may not get the attention of the high peaks. This could be emulated by other municipalities in the Adirondack Park. But we're going to make it a special event and a prestigious event, and when you get that patch and the official letter and the official sticker and your official number, well, I think it's going to be special. And then a lot of fun. So what are we doing? You know, a lot of people are saying, oh, something that families can do. And that's what it's all about. Speaking of families, John Barger's son Aaron suggested we put a QR symbol, and I didn't know what that symbol was till yesterday, QR. Quick read, by the way. So we got the DEC to put a QR symbol at the trailhead sign up and maybe at the peak. You could wave your magic smartphone there and at the top, and we'd have you all logged in or give you all sorts of trail information. It'd be a lot of fun. But we can use this technology. We'll suggest that to the DEC. And friends, you too can take the challenge. You can take the Sixer challenge. In fact, I'll even do one or all with you if you'd like. And speaking of challenges, we'd like to challenge the Gov too because he likes us. He really, really likes us. He comes here all the time and likes us. And I like the Gov too. There we were this week in Executive Mansion. And guess what? You know the only beer served there is Saranac beer. It's true. The New York State wines and Saranac beer. Again, Ubu fans, sorry. Planning and infrastructure. Well, we've spent $13 million for a water system that a lot of us think we didn't really need, but we did it anyway. We had to. There's a hammer over our heads, figuratively. And we also put $1 million into our sidewalks. They had crumbled for so long. People put off routine maintenance. And we invested in the pedestrian infrastructure of our village. We invested in the long-term vibrancy of our water supply. And this is very exciting. And now one of the biggest challenges we have after spending all that money and all that time and all those resources is the Lipan sewer main, which goes down to our biotechs. It's going to cost at least $1.2 million, and we'll be applying for help from the state of New York in that because it's tough on the small communities, of which we are one here in the Adirondacks. By the way, we're also using FEMA money to replace some of the infrastructure that we lost during Hurricane Irene. This is a picture of drilling those big 20-inch wells by the Saranac River that incidentally has 3 times the capacity that we need right now, so we have lots of growth potential. This is one of the water tanks on top of Mount Pisgah that we've installed to help us balance our water needs and the water pressure. So these are some of the investments that we made. This is a picture provided by Denton Publications from Fuller Construction, putting in probably about $400 or $500 worth of that million right there. Housing. Like other communities in the Adirondacks, we are challenged by the housing stock that we have because a lot of the housing stock comes from the Cure Cottage era when large houses were built and Cure porches were added on. Now these houses are sometimes too large for today's families, very difficult to heat, very costly to remodel. So we're looking for ways to convert these to sustainable housing for single families and perhaps multifamily housing. Again, bringing more density into a hamlet as opposed to dispersing it out into the mountains.
And the new law that was passed is causing you challenges with that?
I was not enamored with your new law, and I'll tell you why. Because I thought that your new law took away from hamlets by dispersing whatever kind of development outside, when in fact in the hamlets, and we're a lucky hamlet, there are not There are other villages and hamlets that are not so lucky that could use the development, needs the development, and we all have water, sewer, and the infrastructure in place right there. I think the proof in the pudding right now is that the really, to my knowledge as of yesterday, perhaps I'm incorrect, is that the new initiative that you have has not been taken advantage of in the last 2 years since it was enacted. But your heart was in the right place. You wanted to provide affordable housing. I get it. I share that passion with you. But I think it's got to be in the hamlet area where we have the infrastructure and the resources that you need. The investors out there would rather do the multifamily in a hamlet than maybe a single family outside with no water and sewer services. So these are some of my thoughts on the subject. But your heart was in the right place. So I give you an A on that. So there's some of those cure porches. And I built a new house for my family, and we built a cure porch on it because we lived in one of these for a while before we moved, and we seemed to spend like 9 months out in the cure porch reading books and just talking. A lot of fun. They're great. And incidentally, we're very wary of losing this architectural signature of Saranac Lake because it's tough to keep them up. A lot of people are tearing them off. They're difficult to remodel. So the architectural preservation is something that we're looking at right now. That's just another example. Drive through Saranac Lake and every other house looks just like that with the cure porch. All right, so as we kind of wrap up our presentation, we ask ourselves the questions. How does Saranac Lake fit into the park? Well, we are a hamlet. Hamlets is where the park laws, if you will, want development to happen, service growth to happen. We want to fulfill that responsibility, and we want to grow sustainably within the park. So what synergies do we have with the neighboring communities? Well, I could tell you that the main synergistic relationship that we have is with Lake Placid. It's very symbiotic. Without one, neither village would be exactly what it is today. It wouldn't be as good. A lot of the workers that live in Saranac Lake commute to Lake Placid. A lot of people in Lake Placid come to Saranac Lake. I think it's a great relationship. Maybe back years ago there was a rivalry. There might have been some animosity, but those days are long gone. We're one region, as evidenced by Saranac Lake reaching out to Roost in the past year to make good tourism happen. So how can it market the Adirondacks? That's a tough call, and Lonnie, you had mentioned that radio show. We'll give you a link to it. The Adirondack region has a long way to go when it comes to marketing. Saranac Lake by no means has the resources to do it on itself. Very few, if any, local municipalities have it. We're going to need state assistance to market the Adirondacks as a region, but we got a governor that does love the Adirondacks. So who will do this? How will they do it? I do not know, but I can tell you that Saranac Lake will be there as a stakeholder and as a team member when this effort goes forward. And finally, what growth, development, and sustainability templates do we offer anyone else? Well, we don't claim to be perfect. We don't claim to have all the answers, the end-all and be-all. Saranac Lake is a work in progress. We've had some successes in the last few years, and we've got a dynamic community that's not afraid to raise their hand, stand up, and be counted, and voluntarily contribute to the betterment of Saranac Lake and the Adirondack community. We're right there. We call ourselves the capital. We've got a lot to offer, but I will also add this, that no community celebrates the seasons or life as does Saranac Lake, as evidenced by the recent Winter Carnival. We know how to have a good time. It's cold, it's snowy, it's dark. We make the best party in the world out of it because we live in a beautiful place. Saranac Lake is where workers trade briefcases for backpacks and high heels for hiking boots. And when you're in Saranac Lake, nous sommes de famille, your family. Thank you.
I just have to say that there is no way in my lifetime, I should never say that, that I will ever catch up with our council and be a 46er, but I might be a 6er.
Yes!
I might be able to do that. Oh, there we go.
Ronnie, we'll see you Memorial Day weekend. You can start off from Mount Baker, it's 0.9 miles, but the best bang for the buck for the hike length really is.
There we go. Well, I have grandchildren who bring back pictures of ampersand on a regular basis. They will come to the park from the other side of the state for just a quick overnight and have a wonderful time up there. I'm sure there's comments, there's questions from the board for our guest. Dick?
That was in your school book.
They're going down. I don't have the exact numbers, but like every other community, we are losing students, and that is of concern to our community. We want to see all the strata of the age groups prevalent in our village. It's a challenge, but how do you meet that challenge? Jobs, jobs, jobs. You have the jobs, you got families moving in. So that's the direction we're moving in. There's no magic to it other than that, I believe.
I really enjoyed your interviews on Long Island.
Where are you from?
I grew up on Long Island.
I could tell, but whereabouts?
Massachusetts.
Oh, Massapequa, yeah.
Did that experience give you any greater insights on how to brand and communicate what we have up in the Adirondacks?
It gave me pause for reflection upon that question, I can tell you that. We've got a long ways to go. Vermont, and I'm going to use that as the example, has spent millions and millions of dollars and has been at it for a long time, and they have the image in their minds as a warm, cozy, mountainous place to go skiing. And it's a little closer to Long Island. So Long Island is more of a challenge to us than Montreal. When I came back, I'm going, man, what are we doing? Let's look at Montreal. As being a former Plattsburgh mayor, we always looked to Montreal. They were coming down, and they still do, by the carload every day. So 2-hour drive from Montreal to Saranac Lake, we think that's a better bet up there to put whatever meager marketing resources that we have. But it is going to take a regional effort, and I'm hopeful that our North Country Regional Economic Development Council can incorporate the Adirondacks for marketing. Now, here's the deal, though. They're also North Country, so you got the periphery of the Adirondacks. How do you do both? I really don't think you can. I think the Seaway in Thousand Islands is different than the Adirondacks. The Champlain Valley is definitely different than the Adirondacks. Even though we have a region, it's still differentiated. So we've got to market the Adirondacks, and I don't know how to convince the Regional Economic Development Council to do that, but it's imperative. We just can't send our money and be with a scattered message. The message has got to be Adirondack, Adirondack, Adirondack.
Hi.
Yes.
Great presentation, and I got to say, so somebody who moved here about a year and a quarter ago, I moved and rented a place in Saranac Lake, and I've been up here my whole life, but living in a village like this was extraordinary in terms of the spirit of this community, and the festival and any other, just the volunteerism that goes on in this town is extraordinary. So I just want to make that comment. But,
and you are registered to vote, right?
Just a couple comments, though. I appreciate your comments about the UMP and Saranac Wild Forest. In fact, I think some of my staff have talked to yours recently.
Nice meeting we had with the stakeholders.
And when I heard your comments in the news about being disconnected, it really concerned me because it's exactly what I'm trying to do, DEC is trying to do, and the governor wants to do with the state plans in the areas of communities, and to connect communities to the state lands and make them economic assets as well as wilderness and everything else. And so your comments are well taken, and I think we just got to keep the communication levels very high. And also the last comment I'd like to say is that I think two comments. One is the infrastructure in communities is another area of concern. Again, it goes to the economic development side. We can have Saranac and Placid are a little different. But when you get out in the Adirondacks and you have great places to go, but no places to stay, that's a huge problem. And people come and visit, and they don't even have any place to spend their money, much less whether they do it or not. So that's an area we're working at, trying to do. And the last comment is on the marketing side. I think the moons are aligning on a lot of different fronts on trying to recognize that this has market appeal and that we have to do a better job. But it's a world-class destination, and we should really be looking at it. There's 3 or 4, maybe more, things going on, and I think you're aware of all these. And I think we just have to coalesce them and keep communicating to make it all happen.
Well, thank you, and we appreciate being in our community immensely. We're also very aware of the infrastructure needs and and lodging facilities. Saranac Lake could use more and different lodging facilities. We only have one flag hotel with a national reservation system. So we're going to work on that. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? What comes first, like $10 billion worth of Olympic infrastructure, then the hotels? Or did we have the hotels and other infrastructure, then the Olympics came in? So I think the marketing will bring the lodging. It'll take a little bit of time, but it's definitely a direction we've all got to come together on and go forward with.
Mayor, as a couple of times around 46er myself, I'm going to take you up on the 6.
Okay.
No problem at all. Having said that, though, I don't want you to fail right away. I would like to know, my question is, at the other 5 locations, is the snow plowed better than the ampersand pull-off? Which never seems to be plowed when I go there.
The ampersand pull-off is in the, well, it's not in the village.
I understand it's not in the village, but I don't want you to fail at this endeavor.
But it's my brother-in-law's territory. I can't,
Happy Thanksgiving to you.
It's all family, I told you.
Mayor, I know when we've spoken in the past, you rightfully said that Saranac Lake cannot rest on its laurels of having received the designation as an All-America City, and I know it's about 15 years now. In recognition that that was such a prestigious award at the time, and that there were, I know Saranac Lake was calling other communities around the country that had won that from the National Civic League, and then Saranac Lake, and it worked out, in terms of getting a sign on the Northway, and I still get letters from the school district that have the logo on it. Is there any outreach that you've seen from around the nation in terms of people contacting Saranac Lake, and is there any additional marketing use that you envision or are doing in terms of that designation?
Terry, I think it's time to move on. When that designation happened, I was not part of it. I wish I was. I was mayor of a different municipality, as a matter of fact. It is a token and a place of pride for Saranac Lake, and rightfully so. A lot of community groups and the entire community came together and they made it happen. But lo, 15 years later, it's time to move on and garner more laurels and recognition. And as I said, we're a work in progress. I haven't noticed anybody calling me up and saying, because you were the All-America City 15 years ago, we're going to come and take a look at you. Haven't seen that. I have friends who call me up and see it on the Northway, but they were like old college roommates. But
Interesting.
yeah, I think it's time to move on.
Yeah.
And God bless the people that made it happen. I know, and they rightfully so take great pride in it, but how long does it last? How long is there sizzle and the steak still there?
Dick?
Mayor, I grew up in Plattsburgh, and I've known of your accomplishments for a long time, although I haven't lived there for a long time. It's clear that Plattsburgh lost a lot. Decided to move to Saranac Lake with your enthusiasm and obvious leadership.
Well, thanks. I do have a warm spot for Plattsburgh. I'm very grateful for the opportunities it gave to me, and I do keep track of my friends and family in Plattsburgh. And gave me good preparation for coming to Saranac Lake. Good training ground. It really is. It was.
I'm very glad to hear about the work that our staff are doing
Yeah.
in supporting you. I know their love of the community came first, their responsibilities here. I'm glad it's all fitting and dovetailing well. Is there anything else? As you have the microphone, sir, are there any ways that this agency is slowing down your progress? Are there any ways in which this agency could be more helpful?
Well, these are cogent questions. I will tell you that because we're a hamlet, there's limited jurisdiction from the APA. There's a height restriction. I think there's one other area. It might be wetlands. I'm not sure. But other than that, I'm just very grateful we live in a beautiful park. And I think it's an asset to have mountains and lakes, fishing, paddling all around us. And if we do the right thing with the areas around us, all good things will happen for Saranac Lake and the other hamlets.
Does your board, do your officials find any value and take advantage of the local government days and the planning programs that happen throughout the year? Is that of help to your officials as your officials turn over?
Not so much. I do not know the reason. I attended my first because I was asked to speak last time around. I am a part-time mayor. I do run a company more than 40 hours a week. almost the same amount of hours I put in as mayor, but it's really tough. And someday I'll be retired and have more time, but then again, I'm not there yet.
I think you are an example of most leaders within the Adirondack
Yeah,
Park.
that's true.
Having those same exact pressures. So, any other comments? Any other questions? Well,
Thank you.
it's our tradition to thank you officially and to send you with our thanks. And I would ask if Councilman Van Cott would join us today, since I'm sure he was very excited about every word you were saying, but... Yes, absolutely. And what we would like to do, if Terry wants to go over there, is to express our appreciation to you for the opportunity to learn about Saranac Lake's successes and challenges, as well as your vision for the village. The agency also commends your leadership and your support of the initiatives that will benefit the village and the entire park. The agency looks forward to continued collaboration with you, with Saranac Lake, toward the overall goal of healthy and vibrant communities within the park. And I think with your leadership and enthusiasm, we're going to do a lot very soon on the issue of marketing the Adirondacks.
You betcha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll listen for you on the radio.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.